You have exactly 28 minutes to live. If that alarm sounds today, an RS-28 Sarmat missile is already ripping through the upper atmosphere at Mach 23. There is no bunker deep enough. There is no rescue mission coming. But the government won't tell you the most terrifying secret of all. They already know exactly who is going to die first. These are the 5 American cities mathematically targeted to be vaporized in the first 60 seconds of World War III. The first 4 are designed to instantly paralyze the nation. But target number 5? That is a psychological death blow that guarantees the survivors will never be able to rebuild. Let's start the clock. While the East Coast is burning, the Midwest is already gone. Target number 3 is Chicago. Why Chicago? Because it is the central nervous system of the American logistics grid. Every major railway, interstate highway, and internet fiber optic trunk line intersects right here. If you take out Chicago, you surgically slice the United States in half. Food, medical supplies, and military reinforcements can no longer travel from the West Coast to the East Coast. The country bleeds out. A detonation over the South Loop neighborhood would instantly eliminate over 150,000 residents. The Willis Tower, all 1,450 feet of it, would be snapped like a dry twig. Winds exceeding 600 miles per hour would rip through the grid, turning shattered glass and steel into high-velocity shrapnel. But the blast wave isn't the true horror of Chicago. It's the urban layout. The city is a dense, unbroken grid of brick, wood, and steel. As the intense thermal pulse radiates outward, it will simultaneously ignite every piece of exposed fabric, plastic, and foliage for miles. This creates a localized phenomenon called a mass firestorm. Thousands of individual fires will merge into one gigantic, roaring inferno. This megafire will become so intense that it creates its own weather system, sucking all the available oxygen out of the surrounding air to feed the flames. People who did everything right, the ones hiding deep in their reinforced basements, will suffocate long before the fire ever reaches them. They will simply be baked alive, trapped inside concrete ovens. But while Chicago suffocates, target number 4 faces a completely different geographical nightmare: Los Angeles. Los Angeles is topographically doomed. The city sits in a basin, walled in by the San Gabriel Mountains. When a nuclear device detonates over the historic center, the shockwave won't safely dissipate across flat plains. Instead, it will slam into the mountain range and violently bounce back. This creates a secondary pressure wave that merges with the first, crushing whatever structures manage to survive the initial impact. But the geography creates an even more horrifying trap for the people on the ground. Millions of residents will be stuck in endless gridlock on the 405 freeway. They will see a blinding flash in their rearview mirrors. Instantly, an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, will fry the microprocessors in their cars. The engines will die in unison. Every vehicle becomes a dead metal coffin. No radio, no cell phone service, just absolute deafening silence. But the silence only lasts for a few seconds, because the thermal radiation travels at the speed of light, while the shockwave travels at the speed of sound. Before they even hear the explosion, the sheer radiant heat of the blast will penetrate the glass of their cars. The interior cabin temperatures will spike to 400 degrees in a fraction of a second, literally melting the plastic steering wheels right into their hands. And only then, while they're trapped, blinded, and burning, will the 900-mile-per-hour shockwave finally arrive to finish the job. Now we arrive at the final city, target number 5, the psychological death blow that guarantees the United States can never rebuild: San Francisco. You might think targeting a tech hub and a nuclear exchange is about wiping out the internet or destroying data servers, but you would be dead wrong. The digital infrastructure that runs the world is decentralized and backed up in hardened subterranean bunkers across the country. Vaporizing Silicon Valley doesn't erase the data, it erases the architects. The goal isn't to destroy the servers, it is to permanently eliminate the brightest engineering and defense tech minds on the planet, along with the massive Pacific naval infrastructure of the Bay Area. Without the human capital of San Francisco, the nation loses its ability to innovate a recovery. If a warhead detonates perfectly over the bay, the iconic red suspension cables of the Golden Gate Bridge won't just collapse, they will instantly vaporize. The steep hills of the city won't protect the residents. They will act as terrifying funnels, channeling a supersonic shockwave that ends the lives of over 64,000 people in an instant. A localized electromagnetic pulse will permanently fry the power grid and every microchip from San Jose to Oakland. But the isolation is the true psychological torture. Survivors in the hills will look down and see the bay completely obscured by a churning, radioactive wall of fire and irradiated water. With the localized EMP destroying all communications, they won't know if the rest of the country still exists. They won't be able to check the news. They will be thrust back into the Stone Age in less than 60 seconds entirely alone. And this is the horrifying reality of the 60-second window. Once these 5 cities are vaporized, the true nightmare begins for the rest of the country. The blast was only phase 1. Phase 2 is the fallout. Millions of tons of irradiated dust, pulverized concrete, and human ash will be sucked into the atmosphere and carried east by the jet stream, blanketing the remaining states. The sky will artificially darken. Crops will fail. Within hours, the atmosphere will condense the vaporized debris, and a thick black rain will begin to fall across the heartland. A single drop of this black rain on your skin won't instantly kill you. That is a Hollywood myth. But what it does is far worse. This rain will contaminate the groundwater, the soil, and the air. Breathing in the microscopic, highly radioactive ash, or drinking a single glass of that contaminated water, will lodge alpha and beta emitters deep inside your lungs and stomach. It will slowly and methodically tear your cellular DNA apart from the inside out. The survivors in the rural areas will quickly realize that the people who were vaporized in those first 60 seconds were actually the lucky ones. They didn't have to watch the world slowly decay. They didn't have to fight their neighbors for a bottle of uncontaminated water or lose their minds in the dark. The government knows this. They have run the simulations thousands of times. The first city to be erased is the obvious one, Washington, D.C. In military doctrine, this is called a decapitation strike. The goal is simple: sever the head of the snake before it can bite back. The warhead will detonate directly above the National Mall, right between the Capitol building and the Washington Monument. But forget the Hollywood image of a giant crater. An airburst doesn't dig holes, it flattens. Within the first 60 seconds, a 20 psi overpressure wave moving faster than the speed of sound will slam down on the Capitol. The Pentagon, the White House, and every intelligence headquarters in a 3-mile radius won't be excavated. They will be instantly crushed flat. The blast wave will pulverize the heavy marble of the Lincoln Memorial into dust, tossing structural columns into the Potomac River like toothpicks. Over 120,000 people will be eliminated before their brains can even register the flash. The thermal pulse will ignite the scaffolding of the Smithsonian museums, fusing stone and glass together in seconds. Politicians, tourists, and generals will share the exact same fate because there is no civilian bunker near Ground Zero built to survive a direct megaton-class airburst. But while Washington is wiped out to stop the government from functioning, target number 2 is designed to flatline the entire global economy. New York City. A warhead detonating above Lower Manhattan is the ultimate nightmare scenario. Over 250,000 people would be erased in the initial flash. Deep beneath the streets, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York holds roughly 6,000 tons of gold bullion. The heat won't melt it into the bedrock. Instead, the sheer force of the blast will collapse the entire financial district on top of it, permanently entombing the nation's wealth under millions of tons of irradiated, fused concrete. Wall Street and the World Trade Center will simply cease to be. But think about the psychological horror for the survivors in the outer boroughs. The intense thermal flash would ignite clothing in buildings up to 12 miles away. If you are standing outside in Brooklyn or Queens, you would suffer third-degree burns across your entire body before you even heard the sound of the explosion. When the shockwave finally hits Midtown, the glass from every single skyscraper will shatter simultaneously. Millions of razor-sharp shards will be blown through the concrete canyons, raining down on the streets in a supersonic hurricane of shrapnel. And then the geography of Manhattan becomes its own executioner. It is an island. The suspension cables of the bridges will snap. The underwater tunnels will either instantly flood or become permanently gridlocked with dead, abandoned cars. Millions of people will be trapped, surrounded by water, suffocating on pulverized concrete and radioactive dust. By midday, the sky will turn pitch black as the mushroom cloud violently punches 40,000 feet into the stratosphere. There is no escape route. The island becomes a sealed tomb where you're completely isolated, watching the sky rain black ash, just waiting for the invisible radiation to finish what the blast wave started. They know that if the sirens sound, Washington, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and San Francisco are already gone. There is no rescue mission coming. There is no contingency plan for a 180 million degree fireball. If the emergency broadcast system triggered right now and you only had 28 minutes left, where would you actually go? Let me know your exact survival plan in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and click the video on the screen right now to discover the dark, highly classified truth about elite emergency bunkers.